Good afternoon. My name is Mohammed Abid. I'm Director of Product Marketing. Today I have with me Wei Ling New, Director of Product Management. We had a great Accelerated 18 show, and now today we will share some additional details with you guys. As companies look to transform everything from their business operating models to service delivery methods, they are adopting technologies such as mobile computing to make data and information available where that is needed. For example, providing access to all corporate applications wherever those applications live on-premise or on the cloud, and maintaining enterprise security policy. Other things like IoT to build smart offices and multi-cloud adoption. They're all emerging trends to achieve business agility, automation, and scale. The digital transformation has simultaneously stretched IT teams to the breaking point while exponentially broadening the digital attack surface and requiring it to be fully protected. For example, in our multi-cloud example, organizations need to worry about an attack surface that may not always be visible to IT. OT, operational technology, is another area that is listed in this slide, where OT used to be protected by the air gap, meaning you have to be physically connected to cause any harm, but that is now connecting with IT for automation and scale, and it needs protection as well. Well, enterprises are going through this digital transformation and they would like all of their data to be confidential, private, secure, and also like to make sure that two entities or more entities sharing data have mutual authentication. All good, but that poses another challenge. How do you look at that encrypted stream and find out whether it is a legitimate data or some malware hiding in that data? Gartner is predicting by 2019, 80 to 90% of traffic will be encrypted, and of that, 50% traffic may carry some sort of malware. So IT architects, managers, operational staff, all of need to know what is in that data stream and need to monitor, inspect that traffic at a very high speed. If you look at threat protection, some of the studies done even with Fortinet Threat Landscape Report that came out last year, and then Accenture did some study, and then SANS Incident Response did a survey. If you look at all the studies, it tells you that 79% of organizations were impacted in 2017 with some sort of attacks. Average cost is about 11.7 million, and it takes 2 to 7 days. But the actual numbers would vary from organization to organization depending on which organization and what type of attack that took place. If you just look at the example of New York Erie Hospital, they were impacted on April 9, 2017 with a common ransomware called SamSam. This SamSam ransomware infected 6,000 plus computers, and the hackers were demanding roughly $44,000 to share the keys so the enterprise can unlock the encrypted hard drives. The organizations naturally refused, which was the right thing to do because they found it unethical to pay for this. But it took them $10 million and a duration of 3 months to restore normality. So really these threats are real and it has to be managed accordingly. Fortinet has been planning, has been monitoring these trends, and they have been thinking about products that are future proof because as part of industry leaders in this overall security prevention and protection, we have to be staying ahead of the trends and the performance curve. So with that in mind, Fortinet introduced two products, 6000 series, 6300F and 6500. If you look at the specs of these products, with 90 gig NG firewall, 90 gig SSL inspection, and 60 gig threat protection, all packed in a 3 RU compact form factor that cannot be matched by any competitor in the industry. If you look at on my right 6500, it offers almost 2 times the scale of 6300, and again all packed in a 3RU form factor. 6500 offers 200 million sessions, 130 gig SSL inspection, 150 gig NG firewall, and 100 gig threat protection. That is more than sufficient not only to meet the needs of today's traffic security needs, but also future-proof all your investment in the Fortinet products. Placements or deployment scenarios, we are listing just 3 main use cases under the placement category, but it could be, the product is so versatile, it could be deployed anywhere. In terms of benefits, the product offers versatile, flexible I/O, all packed in a 3RU form factor, so you could deploy this product that requires 10 gig, 25 gig, 40 gig, or 100 gig connectivity. All the hardware acceleration and innovations that Fortinet is known for are packed in multiples in both 6300 and 6500. Not only that, Fortinet also offers 6300 F01F and 6500 01F. With that, you get the storage capacity in both products. Yes, both products have multiples of CP9 and P6 to give you the required performance. But something to call out is this DP3 chip. It's new because it offers highly scalable load balancing. What it means that under the hood, if you look at this highly scalable, high performance chip allows fast load balancing. So all the internal resources are very efficiently utilized. And if you look at the new trend in the data centers, it used to be 10 gig port connection from the server to the switch was sufficient, one lane, one full duplex connection. But if you look at Kubernetes and other high performance microservices, that may not be enough. So enterprises are looking for faster, high bandwidth connection from the server port to the switch port. That's why SFP28 is an emerging trend. And both of these products are the first one in the industry to offer that type of connectivity and unmatched performance. We want to spend a little bit more time on the SSL performance inspection and call out because both platforms offer an unmatched performance and scale enabled by Fortinet hardware accelerators, CP9 and NP6. And not only that, if you look at the VPN capabilities, it's already enabled Suite B category of next-gen encryption, which is very suitable for SD-WAN type of deployment where you need a platform that not only able a high number of branches but also can do performance encryption. Gartner is also saying that about 63 million devices by 2021 will be connected to your network every second. So you definitely need to have a device that is able to match that type of performance if that trend of encryption continue to prevail. This is the product positioning slide. If you look across, FortiGate 6000 series fit nicely well in the ultra high-end compact appliance or firewall devices, and anything beyond that is where we have chassis, and then we have our innovations in the virtual machine space for all types of cloud deployments, etc. This is a slide where we are going to talk more about this in the next section, but just to eyeball and let you know the comparison that we did with 6300 with the top or leading competitors in the same price range, which is 180,000 list price. The graph and the chart speaks for itself. 6000 series, in particular 6300F, which is being compared in this slide, offers 14 times better SSL inspection and 2 times higher threat protection from the lead competitor, Palo Alto 5260, and it's the first platform in the industry that offers 10 gig, 40 gig, 100 gig, and then 25 gig SFP ports. In the next section, we will do more of a comparison, security performance, competitive comparison in a little more detail and share with you how this product stands out from the rest of the competition. So in this slide, what we want to call out is the Fortinet is the only vendor that takes pride in publishing its performance numbers. We want to be transparent to our customers and partners. Whatever you see in the data sheet, it clearly lists the methodology that we use for our testing. For example, if we look at these 5 categories listed in this slide, Fortinet is the only one that shares, for example, for SSL inspection, what TLS we use, what type of cipher we use, etc. And those information and traffic mix, for example, for NG firewall comes out very clearly. And for firewall, we list our 3 metrics, our 3 package sizes, 64 byte, 512, and 1518. So network engineers, security architects, whoever looking at this product can size their network and plan more effectively. This is another slide where we are comparing ourselves, and we are calling out these 2 specific parameters. One of them is SSL inspection, and the other one is threat protection. If you just look at the industry average, the best competing product, and what we offer in terms of threat protection is 3 times. And SSL inspection, absolutely there is no match. FortiGate 6000 series leaves all the competition behind for a foreseeable future. The performance is about 11 times the best product available in the market, and that the trends and the patterns that we shared in the previous section, these products are absolutely make your investment future proof. We're doing another double clicking on 6300 and 6301F that offers storage capacity and with the leading competitors. Again, if we go through this list, firewall throughput, NG firewall throughput, threat protection, 90 gig versus 30 gig, threat protection 60 gig versus 30 gig, a factor of 3, a factor of 2, SSL inspection factor of 11, number of sessions, a factor of 3, and then interfaces and interfaces diversity. There is no match to FortiGate 6300 series. Now let's double click on 6501F and competing products in the space. So we mainly are competing based on the throughput parameters, looking at PAN 7050, Checkpoint 44000 series, and Cisco FireWire Power 9300 with one SM44 card in it. If you just compare across, again, threat protection 80 gig, no match, NG firewall 100 gig, almost 2x from the leading Cisco Firepower, and then SSL inspection 100 gig for 7060 and 130 gig for 6501F, which is being compared in this deck. And then concurrent session is 200 million storage, also 2 terabyte NVMe SSD for 6501 and 6301, and the very competitive price performance. This slide is essentially we're trying to capture in our way how do you deploy, when to deploy what, compact form factor, fixed appliance, your parameters in advance, you go with 6501 F3RU. And if you're looking for more modular, more higher IO density, and you're looking for IO redundancy with MC lag, etc., then you go with 7060. So this is also another comparison. The goal is for you to make a more educated decision. So we're comparing ourselves with certain parameters. For example, if you look at the NSS certification, if you look, Fortinet has the most effectiveness when it comes to NSS labs, for NG firewall category, DC secure gateway category, data center firewall category, IPS and GIPS tests. So this actually should tell you that Fortinet is a partner, as a vendor, not only offer the most effective, price-effective products, but also has a very comprehensive approach to security. Security Fabric is just to name, is a great solution that allows you to share threat information across all devices, and both 6300 and 6500 are an integral component of that security fabric. Threat protection throughput, again, Fortinet has one of the best offering when it comes to threat protection throughput. SSL inspection, as we highlighted and pretty evident from the metric that you have seen, there is absolutely no match to the performance that FortiGate products offer. IPS, again, we have full comprehensive support. Number of sessions, again, there is no match for the scale and performance of the number of sessions. VPN, again, there is absolutely no mention. And then this is very important to call out, with a single centralized management with FortiAnalyzer, FortiManagement, the kind of views and reports that you get, there is absolutely no match in the industry. It just makes your life and troubleshooting easier. With that, I hand over to Wei to go and do a deep dive on FortiGate 6000 series.
Thanks, Mohammed. So I'm part of the product management team for the 6000 series, and I'm going to cover some of the technical aspects and what makes the 6000 series truly unique within the FortiGate, being an appliance as well. So let's dive straight into the series and talk a little bit about what makes up the 6000 series. So as usual, I have the product disclaimer. Sorry, I went too fast, because for any roadmaps, any discussion of those. And I always like to say that the quote from Ferrari was, "If you dream it, you can do it." Because what our engineers actually wanted to develop is something that our customers can enable all of the features without sacrificing performance, as compared to some of our competitors that we always see, trying to enable all of the features for SSL inspection and so on, advanced anti-malware. That seems to be a little bit of a tough corner to crack for some of our competitors, and this is something that Fortinet is known for, its performance. So that's one of the things that we wanted to call out. So, of course, the highlight, the highest performance in a 3RU form factor. This is key to us because, just to give an example, I think Mohammed has highlighted a lot earlier already, the 6500 has 100 gig worth of threat protection. That is already close to 3+ times against one of the competitors that we often see in the market. In terms of management, we have done some changes, and I'll highlight that in the upcoming slides to show you what is the difference and the unique characteristic for the 6000 in terms of the management and also the data traffic plane. Of course, that goes without saying that we have clear management and data plane traffic visibility. Last but not least is also the first NG firewall appliance to support both 10 and 25 gig by rate interfaces. So we've seen a lot of data center customers and a lot of customers that I've actually talked to as well, that a lot of the designs are moving towards the QSFP28 or 100 gig. So it makes a lot of sense for our customers to start looking at some of the interfaces that the 6000 already provides. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go into interfaces and so on in the next couple of slides. So moving on. So here I wanted to highlight very clearly that the management plane has a 12-core dedicated CPU handling all the management functions, and that could be administrative access, for example, config management, upgrades, and so on and so forth. And of course, on the right-hand side, highlighted in blue, illustrates the data plane traffic. So this is clearly delineated between the management plane and the data plane traffic. And we'll go and talk a little bit more in the upcoming slides on these two different processing planes as well. So first off, to call out the interface density on the 6000 is also truly special because we have redundant management interfaces and also 10 gig SFP interface for out-of-band logging. Of course, this interface is flexible. It can be used for not only logging, but can also be used for direct management of the box. It's essentially a customer choice. But we wanted to highlight that because not every vendor is made equal. And a lot of our other competitors that we have come up in Either there are cases where, for example, if management network actually goes down, there is little to no management interface redundancy on some of our competitors. And of course, there's also little to no interface for out-of-band log management. And as you'll see in the upcoming slides, we'll talk about the out-of-band log interface a little bit more later. Next thing I wanted to highlight is the 2410 by 25 gig interfaces. And why I wanted to highlight this is because I think in the last couple of years, we've seen that the 25 gig adapters, especially for the servers, prices are dropping such that the trend is showing that the uptake on those interfaces are rapidly increasing. And the price of those interfaces are already going lower than a 10 gig interface, which makes a lot of sense for our customers. And therefore, when you put in a 6000 series, it is already made for future proofing, meaning that a lot of our customers already have 10 gig interfaces today as an example. And as they go to the 25 gig interface, there's no need to change our box. It is simply an adapter upgrade on whatever infrastructure that you will be looking at. So in a sense, what I've tried to highlight here is that this is already future-proofing for the network capacity. So in terms of interface, this is unique for us because no other vendor supports both the 10 and 25 gig buy rate. Also, I wanted to highlight because some of our customers also need the option and flexibility to support 1 gig interface. So this is also configurable. That is also supported for the 24, 10, 25 gig interfaces. And of course, last but not least, we still have the QSFP28, which can either support 100 gig or 40 gig interfaces on the last 4 ports. So I think all in all, this is a unique choice of combination in terms of interface speed and also number of interfaces for a lot of customers who are looking for an appliance that they can grow into essentially. So talk a little bit about the dedicated CPU resource, the 12-core CPU that is dedicated for management. This really helps us because I'll also highlight some of the testing that I've actually tried out against some of the often seen competitor products, that this dedicated management CPU actually allows us to upgrade our boxes faster. So I've done a quick test to compare that, and we've seen that on our competitor box, it takes actually more than double the amount of time to upgrade and even just get back console access to the device. Doesn't mean that the box is ready to pass traffic yet. So this is a huge difference in that aspect. And of course, what we wanted to mention on the right-hand side in the right highlighted box is the 10 gig out-of-band logging path, because we wanted to show how the logging enhancements will avoid log contention. Basically, if there's contention between either your management traffic or your data traffic, if they're mixed along the same fabric. So these are some of the key highlights from a management plane interface for the 6000 series. And next, I'll move on to the data plane architecture. So the key components, as with every FortiGate, is MP6, which is the latest generation IPv4v6 acceleration that all of our viewers, I'm sure, are already familiar with. Of course, CP9, latest generation, full match IPS capability and SSL acceleration. And last but not least, the DP3, which is actually the unique characteristic of the 6000 series that provides the highly scalable architecture and also hardware load balancing within a single appliance form factor. And we'll go into each of these components as we get going. So the data plane traffic flow. We just talked about the DP3, right? So essentially, the DP3 that Muhammad also mentioned is hardware-based session distribution. What I'd like to call out here is we have two DP3 chips within the 6000, and the key here is that each DP3 performance can actually tolerate up to 12 million connections per second, and it's about 120 gigs of throughput per DP already. So if you think about it, if you have a certain case when you have a lot of connections per second, comparatively, when we look at some of the competing vendors, we notice that there is either a software bottleneck, because what they're doing with the load distribution is that a single point, what is commonly called as the first packet processor, has to handle the first packet and then distribute it across multiple data planes. That's different because you have already a software bottleneck, and in certain cases you cannot go higher for CPS compared to the DP3 today. So that's one of the things that I wanted to call out. And going on, we also wanted to highlight the MP6 CP9 complex that makes up our data plane essentially. So that is what is so-called the special sauce, the secret ingredient within the 6000 as well. And each of these 6000s would have six. For the 6300, you can see from the external view of these two platforms that the interface density is really the same between these two form factors. So a common question that I always get from our customers is, what's the difference? And the difference really lies in the amount of CPU processing power between these two boxes, because the 6300 will have six what we call Fortinet processor cards, which translates into the capacity of the product. And then the 6500 will have the 10 FPC cards, so having more performance. And that easily translates into the 60 gigs of threat protection on the 6300 gigs on the 6500, giving you linear scalability as well. Okay, so I like to play with animation, so you can see my nice data packet going in, showing you how the traffic flows. It's just, something when product managers can't explain it properly and they need to show it in the PowerPoint. That's what I like to do. I'm just joking here, but just ignore me. So that's how the data packet actually flows, because it goes to the DP, it goes for security scanning on the data plane, and essentially it's really hard to explain. But these are the unique characteristics in the 6000 with hardware acceleration combined with superior CPU processing in case you need to do additional inspection, advanced anti-malware, and so on and so forth. So that is what makes up the 6000 series package. But enough about hardware. I wanted to focus also a little bit on the enhancements that have been done. So I wanted to call out some of the spotlights within the 6000 GUI that will show up as different, especially for regular FortiGate appliance users. So on the first glance, you can see that it looks pretty similar. A regular FortiGate doesn't seem to be very much different. But on the second glance, for those with sharp eyes, you're probably going to see that there is a change in the data plane CPU and management CPU under the system resources. So we're hoping to illustrate and really show the value, because when I was taking the screenshot, I wasn't just taking the screenshot. I was running a test on the 6000 as well. I think it was running like about 120,000 sessions per second, connections per second on the data plane. Sorry, I think it was 17,000. So what I wanted to show here was that the management CPU was hard to utilize because I was the only one who was logged in and doing additional configurations. But the data plane CPU will show you the load, and it will also show you the number of connections per second as well as the total connections. So you would be able to see whether there are new sessions or and so on. So bringing it clearly up here, then you can see the data plane CPU is utilized, including data plane memory, but management CPU is actually close to 0. So ability to drill down with a single click as well. Not only are you going to be able to see the average data plane CPU, but you would also be able to see individually each FTC's performance as well at the same time. So that's a really good indicator, especially when you are running into any issue. And being able to monitor the statistics on your device. So this is the increased visibility that we can see on the 6000 series as well. So I think I wanted to leave you with a couple of important points just to make sure we highlight those. For the 6000 series, the key on the left, as I wanted to really highlight, and Mohammed has already talked about as well, is to future-proof your data center, which is that the 6000 series is really the smallest footprint. And some of our customers that we've already spoken to before, they have already projected a specific traffic growth, and they really know where they're going roughly for the next 3 to 5 year planning cycle. And in their case, rack space is a premium for some of the data centers and some of the locations, or it could be a co-location for the customer as well, where rack space is the most expensive and power consumption as well. So in these kind of cases, where interface connectivity is already fixed, there's not going to be much change to the topology. Rack space is the most important. Then of course, 6000 is what we would consider as future-proofing for your data center. And also, on the other hand, we also have the 7040s and the 7060s and 7030s, where this is a 5RU and respectively for the 7040, and it allows you room to grow on the 7060 platform because you can buy a base of, say, for example, 2 Fortinet processor modules, and you can still grow into the device with another 2 modules. So traffic for customers who have spoken to us that in the data center, they have sufficient rack space and power, but their traffic growth can quickly accelerate and they need to have a room for growth, then this is where the chassis would come in. So these are some of the key points which the customer really is interested in. And also, if they want to have modularity, which means that ability to switch out the blades, the components. So let's say, for example, if you wanted to have additional interfaces in the future or change the interfaces based on your topology and that kind of flexibility, then definitely the 7000 series would provide you with that flexibility as well as high interface density. So these are the 2 key differences that I wanted to actually highlight, and then close out with, of course, the final specs of our 6000 series, just as a recap and a reminder of the 6000, the 6300 series, as well as the 6500 series. And that pretty much covers my entire section, and it's a wrap for me. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope this has provided a lot of interesting information about the 6000 series, and thank you.